Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to the game review for Everton 1, Arsenal 0. Another dominating win by Marco Silva's Blues at Goodison Park yesterday. We're here of course to talk about the game in all its glory. Another breathtakingly easy win for Marco Silva. We could get used to this, can't we? Just going and absolutely smashing teams out of the top six, battering Chelsea, battering Arsenal, battering West Ham as well. It's just what we do, Evertonians, don't we? It's just what we do, Everton. We just go and batter teams, as easy as that. We turn up on a weekend, bish bash bosh, won the game, see you later, going home to have me roast dinner. That was what we done, and it was another absolutely fantastic win for Marco Silva's men. No, seriously, listen, Arsenal are a fantastic team and we always knew this game was going to be tough, and as much as the BT Sports and the Sky Sports and the BBC One and all those pundits will tell you how poor Arsenal were and it was because Arsenal was so poor, it wasn't. We were absolutely amazing once again. We absolutely obliterated Arsenal from about the 2nd minute to the 90th minute. They had one opportunity in about the 1st minute where the ball got cleared off the line, but from then we got our heads into gear and we started to play the football that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. It's the 3rd win in the row for Marco Silva, the 3rd clean sheet in the row as well, and a 2nd win against the top 6 side in a matter of weeks. And you know what? What a fantastic performance it was again. We had something like 23 shots, which was more than 3 times what Arsenal had. Okay, we scored 1 goal and you could say, you know, we should be scoring more. The conversion rate isn't good enough, but that's by the by. That's picking a negative out of a really, really positive situation. And I suppose you could, and I suppose, you know, on another day they might have got a lucky scrappy equaliser or, you know, whatever in the last minute, but they didn't. They didn't threaten us once. They had a couple of shots that were here and there, but weren't anything too serious, and we absolutely battered them consistently throughout the whole game. Of course, we'll talk about Marco Silva's starting 11. We'll talk about the addition to Marco Silva's starting 11 in the very last seconds before the game kicked off. Phil Jagielka obviously coming in due to Michael Keane's illness. What a game he had, not just scoring the winning goal, but defensively as well. 36 years of age, and he's being put up against the likes of Alexander Lacazette, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and he's just absolutely going. You can get in the left pocket, you can get in the right pocket with the car keys, bish, bash, bosh, sorted, get me a hot dog. An absolutely fantastic performance by club captain Phil Jagielka, an absolutely fantastic performance by the entire back four. Once again, Kurt Zuma, absolutely fantastic. Luca Dean, what a footballer, amazing performance, and Seamus Coleman as well, one of the best performances from Seamus Coleman I've seen in a long time, stepping up to the plate and doing exactly what he needed to do. For me, from Jordan Pickford to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, they were all absolutely fantastic. The front four worked their absolute bollocks off all game. Bernard, again, probably a goal away from another 10 out of 10 performance, and you know, it's frustrating really because he could have quite easily had that goal when he went one-on-one with Bird Leno, but you know, whatever, it didn't happen. We still won the game. Who cares? Richarlison, okay, maybe a little bit frustrating going forward, but defensively, I don't think I've seen 2 wingers, definitely in a long time, that give you so much defensively as Bernard and Richarlison do. Richarlison, like I said, he may want to take 17 step overs when he gets the ball in the corner flag. He may want to do it all himself, but his work defensively, you have to admire. He's constantly tacking back, he's constantly helping out Seamus Coleman or Luca Dean, whichever side he plays on, and Bernard's doing the same, and that's exactly what they done yesterday. I want to talk about that later on in the stream. The wingers coming back and helping out the team, everybody defending in numbers and attacking in numbers as well, and that's what we done. We broke in numbers and we defended in numbers, and I thought we were absolutely fantastic. We'll talk about Marco Silva's substitutions as well a little bit later on, because I had a comment on my instant match reaction yesterday saying, you know, are you a little bit worried as the fact that Marco Silva didn't seem to have much faith in his substitutions? And I thought, no, you know what, I think Marco Silva made those substitutions at exactly the right time yesterday. Yes, it was in the last 10 to 15 minutes, but what Marco Silva realised is that when he was bringing Theo Walcott on and when he was bringing Ademola Lookman on, they were not going to give you anywhere near as much defensive cover as Richarlison and Bernard did. So he left it to the last minute, to the point where, you know, Bernard was tired and Richarlison was tired, and then he brought those 2 players off, and he brought Walcott and Lookman on at a time when, you know, the game was sort of dying out and Arsenal were having less and less opportunities, because if he'd have brought them on the 60th minute, they wouldn't have done the tracking back, and maybe, you know, Walcott to the left as man or Lookman to the left as man, and that had, you know, consisted in a goal. Richarlison was still making last-ditch tackles on the edge of our box in, you know, in the last sort of 20 minutes of the game. So the defensive work that they do is just as important as it is going forward. Dominic Calvert-Lewin for me yesterday. I put out a tweet yesterday and I think it got like 98 likes or something like that, my most liked tweet ever. And I said, you know, if you still think Dominic Calvert-Lewin's a championship footballer, then you really don't know anything about football, and I stick to that statement strongly. I think the lad is absolutely fantastic. Once again yesterday, winning everything in the air, every single thing in the air. That lad won. He gave an absolute nightmare to Mustafi and Socrates of the whole game. They could not deal with him whatsoever. Every ball that went in the air, he either won the header, flicked it on, or if there was no one around him, he took it down and he turned and he used the space. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. And yes, he might, you know, he probably could have got himself a goal. Yes, he needs to be a little bit clinical in front of goal. Yes, he needs to, you know, his decision making in the final third needs to improve. But he's 23 years of age. That's going to come with time. The thing that Dominic Calvert-Lewin gives you is he brings everybody else into the game. Nobody wins balls in the air like Dominic Calvert-Lewin does. Nobody takes the ball down and moves forward like Dominic Calvert-Lewin does. Nobody in our squad. And that's what he gives you. And yes, you know, we do need to bring in a 20 to 30 goal a season striker in the summer. But for me, I said this, I was on Network Michael D's channel, later today, and I was speaking about Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and I said, for me, if we're bringing a 20 to 30 goal a season striker in the summer, what we need to do is we need to make sure that striker is coming in knowing that they're going to be mentoring Dominic Calvert-Lewin, knowing that we're going to be saying to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, right, look at what he does week in, week out, and add that to your game. Not going, right, Dom, we've brought a striker in, you're curved to the bench now, that's it. We need to be developing this footballer because he's an absolutely fantastic talent. Jamie with the love out there in the chat. Welcome, Jamie. Thank you very much for being in the chat before the stream started as well. Thank you very much for that. Jonathan says, hi, Jonathan. I hope you are doing okay. John says, the real question now is how long can Everton keep this run going for, Cam? Exactly, how long can we keep this run going for? And I suppose that's going to be the question before every single game now, you know, are we going to continue this run of form? And I suppose, you know, we've got two massive wins now against top 6 sides in the last couple of weeks, so it's really important that we do carry on this run of form and that we carry it on against Fulham. Fulham have been relegated now, so, you know, they've got nothing to play for. They're literally only playing for pride and the fact that they, you know, it's going to be one of their last games in the Premier League for quite some time. But what we've got to play for is this run of form. We've got to play for continuing how we are playing and a possible 7th space and possible Europa League football as well. So we need to go out, and the way we blew West Ham away, the way we blew Arsenal away, the way we blew Chelsea away, let's go and do it against Fulham, and let's create and convert some more chances. If we can convert a couple more against Fulham, we'll win that game about 4 or 5-0. But, you know, elsewhere, you know, there's nothing to say that, well, it's a guaranteed win. Like John says there, how long can we keep this form up for? Let's hope that this is now how we're going to be playing football from now on, you know, to the end of the season and then again in the start of next season. And let's hope it's not just, you know, a brief spell of form, which I don't think it is, by the way. David says, it would be nice if we could batter them in the scoreline. Yeah. But, you know, you get 3 points if you win 1-0, you get 3 points if you win 10-0, and, you know, we absolutely battered them throughout the game. I think that's fair to say. Shabba says, hello, Cam, was that real or did I just dream it all up? I know exactly how you're feeling, Shabba, but it was real. David says, Jags went full on Thanos, poor-tailed in, own the situation, poor-tailed out. Yes, and we'll talk about Phil Jagielka in just a minute. Jonathan says, Marco knows we need a forward. Yeah, I think everybody at the club knows we need a sort of a 20 to 30 goal a season proven Premier League striker, but that's not to say that Dominic Calvert-Lewin isn't doing a good job at the minute. Ashley says, such a shame we did not get more. Pity the pundits could not give us credit. It was just Chelsea, West Ham, Arsenal all playing poor. Exactly, and that's all it'll ever be, mate. We could win the league and it'd be everybody else was shite. It would never be. You know what? Everton absolutely obliterated them today. We were, you know, we got a little bit of credit after the West Ham game, but I think if we didn't get credit after the West Ham game, it would literally scream, we have an agenda. But yesterday, again, it was all Arsenal were poor, Arsenal were this, Arsenal were that. No, they weren't. We battered them because we were boss. Yes, they were shit. Yes, they've got massively overrated players. Mesut Ozil, fucking hell, mate, I've seen better players on a Saturday afternoon kicking a ball around a 5-a-side pitch. He is just an overpaid load of shite. And so is most of their team, but we absolutely battered them and take nothing away from Everton. They were shit, but, you know, at the end of the day, we obliterated them. Chelsea were poor, but we obliterated them. West Ham were poor, but we obliterated them. And you know what? That tends to what happens in football. I know there's probably no pundits watching now, and I'm not having a go at, obviously, any Evertonian, because we're all in the same boat. But if there miraculously is a journalist or a pundit watching, this tends to what happens in football. You know, if your team get battered 3-0, you tend to have a shit game, no matter, you know, how good or bad the opposition is. We battered Arsenal because we were great. Don't worry about them being shite. We were fantastic, and that's what you should be focusing on. David says, we're not top 6, Ash, def our striker, but losing Garner is going to be an issue. Yes, exactly. Hopefully Garner decides to change his mind. Who knows? LCFC Boyer says, working and lurking. Yep. David says, Wolves have a game in hand, by the way, and do your thing, Boyer. Yeah, exactly. Wolves do have a game in hand, and there's still a long way to go, and there's nothing to say that we'll definitely finish in the top 7. There's nothing to say that even if we do finish in the top 7, we'll get Europa League, because I think if Watford win the FA Cup, that's out the window as well. But it doesn't matter whether we're playing for Europa League or whether we're playing for nothing. We need to keep on going. We need to keep on this run of form, and we need to carry it into the end of this season and the start of next season as well. Ashley says, need to keep winning and Wolves drop. Exactly. Ashley also says, spot on, Cam, we were boss. Exactly, we certainly were. Jonathan says, we need to sign Gomez and Zuma ASAP. Hope Brands is doing his magic. Fingers crossed. I definitely think that the Andre Gomez deal is probably on the verge of being done, and hopefully Kurt Zuma decides to want to come as well. EFC1878 says, does it annoy anyone else that we know we could have been playing like this all season? Beat Wolves, Southampton, Watford, Leicester and Brighton. Exactly, it does, but that's just football, isn't it? That tends to what happens in a season. You lose form, and for me, it was understandable as to why heads dropped and confidence dropped after the Merseyside derby. And okay, it was a shocking defeat in terms of it was literally a shock. It wasn't a shocking performance. We were absolutely fantastic against Liverpool at Anfield, and it really, really was unlucky. It shouldn't have affected us for as long as it did, but it did, and hopefully now the players are over it, and now we're back on a decent run of form. And David says, too many players came in unfit, etc. Yeah, fair enough. Just going to tweet the team out so everybody on Twitter knows that we are live. Hopefully get a few more people over talking about our boss Everton are, because let's be honest, we are just quality these days. I don't mean to get ahead of myself, but we are most certainly winning the Champions League, the World Cup, the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup and the Premier League next season, because that's just how sick we are. No, I'm only messing. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. We're in a decent run of form and we need to carry it on now. And if we sit in here at the end of the season and we've beaten Fulham, we've beaten United, we've beaten Palace, we've gone and took points away from Tottenham, away from home, then maybe we can sit there and go, okay, we've got something to work on here. But we need to make sure that we definitely do that, and we need to make sure that going forward that's the case. At the end of the day, we need to go and obliterate Fulham next week. We're not here to talk about Fulham yet, of course, but we need to go and obliterate Fulham next week, because there's absolutely no point in us going out and going and facing a relegated team and not turning up like we have yesterday against Arsenal, like we did against West Ham, like we did against Chelsea. If we turn up against Fulham next week like we did yesterday, we'll absolutely walk all over the park. Walk them all over the park, and I don't doubt that for a second, but we need to make sure that we're doing that, and there's absolutely no reasons to why we shouldn't do that, because we've done it for 3 weeks on the run now. We've got 3 clean sheets on the run, and like I said, I'll carry on going about this 17-day break. After the 17-day break, we've played 6 games. We've played Cardiff, winning a clean sheet, Liverpool drawing a clean sheet, West Ham winning a clean sheet, Chelsea winning a clean sheet. I didn't even mean to do that. I was saving that for Newcastle. I didn't even mean to do that. West Ham winning a clean sheet, Chelsea winning a clean sheet, and Arsenal winning a clean sheet as well. And it was only that Newcastle game that really, really did let us down, and let us down massively, considering we were 2-0 up with sort of half an hour to go, and we could have won that game with a clean sheet as well. But taking that out the way there, that's 5 games, 4 wins and 5 clean sheets. And you can't really complain about that, especially after a long break where Marco Silva has very clearly been working on defensive issues, working on zonal marking, etc., with the players. So we'll talk about the starting 11 anyway. Marco Silva, originally at 1:05 when the team was announced, it was the exact same starting 11 as the one that beat West Ham previously and the one that beat Chelsea, and a starting 11 that we all expected. We predicted it here. I think nobody sort of expected any changes. Of course, shock horror, you get into the ground 5 minutes before kick-off, you've got your pint, you've got your sausage roll, you're thinking, we'll batter these today, and you see a tweet come through, Michael Keane has had to be taken out the squad at the very, very last minute due to an illness. Phil Jagielka's come in to replace him, and you know what? I didn't actually see Twitter until, about, I think it was half time. I had a little look. I didn't look before the game. All I knew was that when the announcer announced the team and Phil Jagielka was in there, I heard someone in the crowd say, yeah, Michael Keane's being taken out sick. So I thought, well, you know what, fair enough. We've seen Phil Jagielka, 3 times this season. One game he got sent off wrongfully. In another game was the Cardiff game, and we were defensively absolutely unbelievable, and some would argue was the start of this fantastic run of form. So I thought, you know what, fair enough. And I want to touch on the Phil Jagielka situation, because when I went on Twitter at half time, of course, he'd already scored scored the goal, of course, he played defensively really, really well for that first half. But I didn't refresh my Twitter because the connection in Goodison is absolutely shite. So I seen the tweets from before the game, I seen the tweets from just before kickoff and what people were saying. And a lot of people were generally going at Phil Jagielka saying, oh, that's it now. When Aubameyang comes on with Lacazette, we're going to get ripped to bits. That's it. It's done. We've lost the game already. You know, he's 36 years old. He's not fit. And listen, there's been some pictures released of Phil Jagielka in the last few weeks and months that show that he isn't fit, and he isn't fit. But at the end of the day, he had an absolutely fantastic game yesterday, and I'm not just talking about the goal. He got the goal, and that's brilliant, and that's a bonus for him personally, and it's a bonus for us because we won the game. But defensively, I'll say this, I've said this once and I'll say it again, said it after the Cardiff game, how much more acute and how much more organised do we look defensively when Phil Jagielka is in that team. And like I said, the first real proper fantastic defensive performance, you know, since that Liverpool defeat at Anfield, in December, was that game against Cardiff. Okay, we had the Burnley game here and there, but Burnley are just shite. It was that game against Cardiff for me where we went out, we didn't only obliterate Cardiff by, you know, smashing them in the first half, scoring the goals and then defending in the second half, but everything that they threw at us, we defended well and we defended organised, and we all sat here at the end of the game going, Phil Jagielka had a fantastic game there, and you can see the difference he makes being in the squad. He mightn't be physically the fittest, he mightn't be fantastic on the ball, he mightn't have, you know, he might make some rash decisions, but his footballing brain is absolutely wonderful, and he knows exactly where he needs to be and when he needs to be there. Again, yesterday, you know, like I said, take away the goal, even though it was the winning, and you know, that's just a bonus. Defensively, I thought he was absolutely fantastic, and for me, it's really, really interesting because what we've seen since that Cardiff game is we've seen Keane and Zuma, we've seen Keane and Mina, and we've seen Jagielka and Zuma, and in every single game we've seen those partnerships change. We've had the same philosophy defensively. We've defended much better than we did before that 17-day break, and that literally might just be Marco Silva saying, I'm taking control of this. This is how you defend, and every single centre half knows that, so it doesn't matter the personnel that we play. But it was quite evident earlier on in the season that when we were changing the centre half, when we were changing the personnel, you know, it was having a massive effect on the squad quite clearly, and that's, you know, that's fair enough. That does have a massive effect on the squad. When you're consistently changing, it has an effect on how you're playing. I've said it before, I've said it again. The thing that's killed us for me this season has been the inconsistency, and the inconsistency of constantly changing your centre halves, constantly changing your captain, constantly changing your team hasn't helped us whatsoever. But what we've seen since that Cardiff game is 3 centre-back partnerships there, and you know, 5 games where we've kept clean sheets and won games of football. And, you know, whether Jags has been in, whether Keane's been in, whether Zuma's been in, whether Mina's been in, we've seen, you know, 5 wins and 5 clean sheets. And again, the Newcastle game where we could have easily got a clean sheet there as well. Listen, for me, I think Phil Jagielka was absolutely unbelievable yesterday, and I did have a little chuckle to myself because I understand why some fans would say, oh my god, you know, Lacazette's going to rip him to bits, you know, Aubameyang's going to rip him to bits, he's not going to be able to keep up with the pace, but you'd have a little chuckle at half time and you go, well, he scored the goal here, and you know, Lacazette's got nowhere near him. Lacazette may as well have literally been sitting next to me in the stand going, that Bernard's great, isn't he? Because that's all I was saying, and that's practically all he was doing, watching Bernard going, I wish I was as good as him. Aubameyang, when he come on, offered very, very little. Phil Jagielka not phased all game. Another game that Phil Jagielka's played this season, only his second game where he hasn't been phased. And I think, you know, again, performance-wise yesterday, he was absolutely fantastic. He took that captain's armband on and he led that squad by example. He led that team by example. He scored the winning goal, which you couldn't ask for any more. And, you know, defensively as well, more importantly, defensively, he was absolutely fantastic. Before we go into the rest of the team, we'll talk about the rest of the players and how well everybody played. Let's just dive straight back in to the live comments so we can see what everybody else is saying. David says, I'm 99% sure Gomez is done and will be our first confirmed signing, marketing purposes, but Zuma won't happen unless Maria CFC, director of football, doesn't like him. Yeah, I agree, sort of, in terms of Gomez. I think, you know, marketing wise and just to sort of get the fans on board, I think Gomez, you know, as soon as that deal's done, it will be announced. And I agree exactly with Zuma. It's going to be a lot harder to sign Kurt Zuma because of the Chelsea transfer ban, and it would mean that, you know, the board at Chelsea and the management team at Chelsea really not fancying him for them to want to sell him, and I don't see why they wouldn't, because I think he's a really, really good centre half. EFC 1878 says, I see this season as an experiment where Silva analyses the team that he was left with and finds out who he needs to where he needs to strengthen. Let's hope he gets it right in the summer. Exactly, and that's all I think we all sort of sat back and seen it as at the start of the season. We all said, okay, this is an experimental season now, let's give Marco Silva some time, let's give Marco Silva the opportunity to, you know, figured out where, you know, how good his players is, what he needs, and you know, how we can go moving forward. And I think when you start to see, you know, defeats against Southampton, defeats against Brighton, poor performances against Huddersfield, poor performances against Watford, Newcastle, you start to think, okay, maybe he's not the right man. But I think he's proven, you know, more than proven in the last 3-4 weeks that, you know, he does deserve the opportunity to stay at the football club, and he definitely deserves his time that we all said at the start of the season we were going to give him. Jonathan says, would you have Lacazette at Everton? I would. I do generally, I know we were joking about him literally 30 seconds ago, but I do generally think he's a really good player, and in the right team, under the right manager, I think he could be a fantastic striker. David says, I believe Sylvan and Brands could be the next Emery and Monchi. I effing hope they are anyway. Listen, if we go on to win 3 bloody Europa Leagues on the run, then happy days. AFC 1878 says, Jags is actually fully rapid. When I saw his turn of pace in 2011, I remember nearly falling off my seat. And David says, that was 8 years ago. AFC 1878 says, I know, but he's still fast. I've seen videos of him saying and he could take on DCL in a race. You'd generally be surprised. Exactly, and that is a fact, actually. I think Jagielka, I think it was the season when he scored that absolute belter at Anfield, sorry. I think he was recorded as the fastest player in the Premier League at one point, over a 100-metre sprint. Not as in got the most pace or the most stamina, but over a 100-metre sprint. I think he calculated the fastest time, just off somebody generally doing stats. So yeah, you know, listen, in his day, he had a lot of pace. Obviously, he's lost a little bit of it now. Obviously, you know, he's getting older, 36 years of age now, and has a little bit of a belly on him, let's be honest. So probably hasn't got that much pace as he used to have. But, you know, in his day, definitely a fast footballer. If you're not enjoying this team so far, please do leave a like. It really does mean a massive amount to me. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. I think we've just hit 450 subscribers, so a massive thank you to everybody for that. It really does mean a lot to me, so massive thank you for that. On to 500 now, half of 1,000. That'll be absolutely unbelievable. If we can hit that by, you know, even the end of the year, that'll be absolutely fantastic. So thank you all very much for your support, as per usual. Anyway, go on to talking about the rest of the team. We'll start with Jordan Pickford, of course, in goal. Again, much similar to the West Ham game. We're sitting here at the end of a footballing game, we're saying, Jordan Pickford, what can you rate him? Because he didn't have to do anything. And like I said, at the end of the West Ham game, that's exactly how I want to sit here and talk about Jordan Pickford. I want to say, yeah, he played alright, but to be honest, he didn't really have to do much, because the defence done all the work, the defence done the job, and he maybe needed to make one, you know, odd save here and there, one clearance of the ball off a corner, but other than that, he didn't need to do much, and that's exactly what Jordan Pickford's performance was yesterday, and you cannot complain about that one. The back four, we've spoken about it briefly, of course. Luca Dean at left back, again, what an absolutely dominant performance from the best left back in the league. I'm saying that because I honestly believe it. Again, him and Bernard on that left-hand side, it really is Baines and Pienaar-esque, isn't it? It really gives you that nostalgia, it gives you that feeling of the Baines and Pienaar sort of style. And Bernard, for me, yesterday, again, we'll speak about him in just a minute, but what an absolutely fantastic footballer. And like I said, probably a goal away from another 10 out of 10 performance, on the back of a 10 out of 10 performance against West Ham United. So Luca Dean, absolutely fantastic once again for me. Kurt Zouma, solid as per usual. You know what you're getting with Kurt Zouma week in, week out now. You're getting a solid, no-nonsense, one-dimensional centre-half, and that is exactly what you need at times. Someone that will happily put his foot up through the ball and land it in Rowe's head if that's the safest thing to do. But also, we've seen a little bit more from Kurt Zouma on Sunday. I thought we've seen him, you know, bring the ball out. We've seen him looking for a pass rather than just getting it and hitting it. We've seen him come forward, and if there wasn't a pass on, he was bringing the ball forward. He was using his strength, and he was dominating, you know, at times the midfield as well as the Arsenal attack. But of course, again, another really good performance by him. Phil Jagielka next to him, we've just spoke about him briefly there. Second proper game this season, other than the Wolves game where he got sent off, and another clean sheet and another dominating defensive performance. I think Phil Jagielka has really brought that mentality back into the defences to say, listen, you do route one stuff. Yeah, okay, your zonal marking's fantastic. Okay, you know, running out with the ball and doing step overs is brilliant, but you do route one first and you make sure that you defend as you need to, and that's what the defence have done ever since Phil Jagielka come in against Cardiff, and that's what we've done again yesterday. Yes, he's not the fittest player. Yes, he's 36 years old and he's not as good as he was bloody 4 or 5 years ago. Obviously, name me a footballer in this world that is getting to that age and is better than they were 4 or 5 years ago. It just doesn't happen. But I think he was absolutely fantastic yesterday. And like for me, like I said, half-time, seeing some of the tweets of people generally worried about, you know, what Arsenal could do with us with Phil Jagielka in the squad. It's really, you know, it's good to look at them now and go, well, he done absolutely nothing, because he defended fantastically. Seamus Coleman on the right, briefly said it just before, for me, his best performance in a few weeks. I think Seamus Seamus really picked himself up yesterday. I think one thing for me that I wanted to point out about Seamus, and I wanted to come on and talk about it, is the captaincy for me with Seamus Coleman. Listen, we all sat here, before Seamus got the armband, saying, how is Seamus Coleman not the Everton captain? He should absolutely, without a doubt, captain this footballing club. He bleeds Everton. He's Everton through and through. He's, he's passionate. He loves to get in referees' faces. He loves to get in other players' faces. That should be it. He got the armband, and we've seen him sort of shy off a little bit. We've seen his performances drop, and I'm not saying that it's a confidence thing. I'm not saying that there was too much pressure on him with the captain's armband. What I'm saying is that, for me, you see Seamus Coleman playing better when he's not necessarily has to be the captain. He doesn't have the armband. We seen yesterday, obviously, Phil Jagielka coming to the team. Phil Jagielka have the armband. Seamus Coleman playing a little bit more of a free role, and just as a right back, he was just another member of the squad there. And yet again, we seen him in the referee's face. We seen him surrounding the Arsenal players. When Arsenal, and all that they done all game for me, was roll around on the floor and moan at the referee. It was embarrassing. It was an absolute laughable performance by them. It really was. That's all they done all game. And when they were trying to surround the referee for trying to get free kicks for diving, Seamus Coleman was in the face of the referee saying, don't listen to any of these gobshites because they're just trying to cheat. And that's exactly what you want from Seamus. He picked himself up defensively. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Seeing balls out of play, making the right decisions constantly and going forward. He was breaking forward. He was helping Richarlison out, and he was overlapping fantastically for me. And like I said, Seamus Coleman, again, listen, you could pick 11 players out of this side to get man of the match. Phil Jagielka is one of them. Luca Dean, again, as is every week. But Seamus Coleman definitely has to be up there for me. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Anyway, going into the midfield now, we'll talk about them as a three. Andre Gomes, sign the contract, fella. Please sign the contract. Again, listen, for me, an absolutely fantastic, dominating performance. Andre Gomes, again, coming up against the top six side and going, you know what, I am just the best midfielder on this pitch, so I'm going to show that. Technically, bringing the ball down. Got caught a couple of times, I must admit, trying to do a little bit too much, trying to turn on the ball 3 times rather than 2 times. But listen, I don't have a problem with that because it didn't lead to anything, and as long as he's a little bit more careful next time and he doesn't make the same mistake again, then we move forward. But Andre Gomes, for me, another dominant, another aggressive, another fantastic composed performance by him, and what a footballer we've got on our hands here. If we can snatch him up from Barcelona, get the deal done now, Marcel Brands. Get him signing that piece of paper tomorrow at Finch Farm, and let's just announce it and go, Andre Gomes is boss. He's got a belter haircut, a belter beard, and he's signed for the Blues. That's it. Because for me, I thought again yesterday he was absolutely outstanding, and what we're seeing a midfielder there that's not only outstanding against the teams in and around us and the teams that are below us. We're seeing a player that can generally stand as his own against the top teams, and a player that I dare say the top teams will have their eye on. He dominated the game against Liverpool and Anfield in the midfield. He dominated the game against Liverpool at Goodison in the midfield. He dominated against Chelsea. He's dominated against Arsenal. I dare say there'll be a lot of top 6 clubs in this Premier League looking at him going, you know what, maybe we could do with bringing a player like that in. I think he's absolutely fantastic, and I think there's no doubt about it. He wants to join Everton. He wants to be an Everton footballer, so let's get that deal done. Adesanya next to him again. Another solid Adesanya type performance. Probably shouldn't be trying to shoot because we all know that he's not the best at putting the ball in the back of the net. But anyway, regardless of that, another dominant performance by Adesanya. Another fantastic performance, winning the ball back when he needed to, picking the ball up, getting himself involved, getting himself, in and around the pitch, and like I said, providing that little bit of rougheliness that, we need in that midfield next to such a composed, cute player like Andre Gomes, next to a player that, is going to get the ball and do something magical with it. You don't really get that with Adesanya, but equally, you don't get the work rate with Andre Gomes that you get with Garnagay, and that's why, for me, those two work massively together. And I know someone brought it up in the comment section down below about Adesanya possibly leaving in the summer. If we can buy some stretch of the imagination, convince him to stay, convince him to sign a new contract and say, okay, listen, we're going to bring Gomes in, he's going to play next year for the foreseeable future, and you're going to have this partnership, and Gay goes, you know what, I've thought about it and I want to sign another contract for Everton, then that'll be absolutely fantastic. But for me, we have to sign Gomes in the summer, and we really do have to, decide what, everything that we can to keep Adesanya. I know we said in January when emotions were high and it looked like he was close to leaving, we can get better, we can replace him, and realistically we probably can, because We seen him get close to goal about 3 times yesterday, and the ball ended up 1 on my lap, 3 with a bit of mustard on in the hot dog stand, and you know, another shot ended up hitting Bill Kenwright in the face, I think. But no, all jokes aside, he's absolutely fantastic at what he does, and he's not there to shoot, he's not there to get one-on-one with the keeper, he's not there to score goals, he's there to do the dirty bits in front of the defence and bringing that ball to Andre Gomes and to Gylfi Sigurdsson so they can do what they need to do going forward. And for me, there's no better player in the Premier League at the minute that does it like Adisa Gana does, so let's try and tie him down. I don't know whether it will. Listen, it's optimistic. We probably are looking at him leaving in the summer, but hopefully, who knows, hopefully Marco Silva and Marcel Brands can have a little bit of a word with him, and we'll have to see where that one develops. Gylfi Sigurdsson, of course, in the 10 again. I think yesterday he was okay. I thought he played well. Again, you know, there's bits of Gylfi Sigurdsson's game that you don't necessarily focus on, despite the fact that he does them well. I think in terms of in front of goal, he had a couple of really good opportunities that he probably should have done a lot better with. He had one where the ball got fizzed across the box, and it meant for him to put it anywhere bar where he put it, and he put it straight into Bird Leno. Another one where he had the ball, you know, a little bit further out, and he could have curled it into the top corner, but he hit it straight at the keeper. It wasn't his best performance, I suppose. Wasn't by any means bad at all. Wasn't by any means a poor performance by Gylfi Sigurdsson. I just think he maybe could have been a little bit more clinical in front of goal. Before we talk about the top 3, let's go back into the live comments and see what everybody else is saying. David says, what did he do? Tie his bootlaces together. David also says, Pickers did the self-all, sat on the goal line and planned his next night out. Probably. I hope he didn't. I hope he stayed at home yesterday and he learned his lesson from the antics last week. David also says, Walcott, Onyekuru, Sigurdsson, Vlasic, 3 players as well as Gomez, and hopefully, though, doubtably Zuma. I'll be happy along with 13 out of 15 out. That could potentially generate 100 million plus. Exactly. I think that means Walcott 4 on Onyekuru does it. Exactly, and if we can bring, you know, a player in like that, maybe right back cover, you know, I think definitely 30 to or 20 to 30 goal a season striker, then I think it'll be a successful summer as well. But anyway, let's go and talk about the top 3. The top 3. The top 3 that for me doesn't need to change now and won't change until we sign somebody in the summer. Dominic Calvert-Lewin leading the line, Bernard on the left, Richarlison up front. We spoke briefly a little bit earlier on in this team about how important Bernard and Richarlison are, in terms of, you know, just the game in itself, in terms of how we play in itself, in terms of defending. Yes, okay, Bernard is absolutely wonderful going forward. Technically, he's breathtaking to watch. He really is. Yes, he could improve in front of goal, but again, that's something that's going to come with fitness and something that's going to come with a really good pre-season under his belt. Same with Richarlison. Yes, he's a little bit frustrating when he's trying to do 700 step-ups, but what you have to realise is that Richarlison had a really good game yesterday, despite not scoring, despite not being directly involved in a goal, despite, you know, frustrating a little bit. He was fantastic yesterday, as was Bernard. Again, absolutely fantastic, despite winning. There wasn't one-on-one chance, and the reason that was because defensively those 2 players helped out massively. Richarlison provided a massive defensive cover for Seamus Coleman at times, and Bernard as well provided massive defensive cover for Luca Dean. Even though, you know, Seamus Coleman and Luca Dean might have been able to cope on their own, Bernard was tracking back, he was running back, he was making sure that he was putting those last-ditch tackles in. There was at least one last-ditch tackle for both players in that game where, you know, Arsenal were running onto goal and both of them sacked the men back and made a last-ditch tackle and then broke forward. And that's generally why you will see Bernard and Richarlison tire during the 70th to 60th to 70th minute. Yes, okay, we're going to see it, you know, a much fitter Bernard, we're going to see a much fitter Richarlison when they've got proper full pre-seasons under the belt and when they're used to playing in these conditions and used to playing in this league. However, you know, you pretty much have to expect players to tire out if they're constantly up and down the line. You know, Bernard and Richarlison are like that from the halfway line, they're like that constantly, but they're also coming back, they're also helping out their respective fullbacks, and that is absolutely unbelievable to see. And for me, that was part of the reason as to why that, you know, Marco Silva got it so right yesterday with the substitutions, because he knew that bringing Theo Walcott on was going to mean that you were going to lose that defensive element, because it's not in Theo Walcott's game to sack his men back, it's not in Theo Walcott's game to defend like Richarlison does, it's not in Ademola Lookman's game to defend. If Ademola Lookman hasn't got the ball at his feet and he's not facing that way, he's not interested. And I think that's part of the reason as to why he's being kept out the squad massively this season. You know, people have been screaming for Ademola Lookman, why isn't he in the squad? Sometimes he's not even in the 18, and I think it's because he doesn't provide that defensive cover that we do need in games of football. Yes, he's got all the potential going forward. Yes, he could be a fantastic winger, but if you're just going to stand around when the opposition have got the ball and just stand there like that waiting for it, then you're not really any good to this squad. And that's exactly what Bernard and Richarlison don't do. They get themselves involved And like you said, you can be sitting there yesterday looking at Richarlison's performance and going, okay, despite the fact he didn't score, despite the fact, you know, he probably could have been a little bit better decision-making wise, he was fantastic. Because the defensive work he did just outshone everything else. He was absolutely fantastic. Same with Bernard. And for me, that is why those two players will continue to play on the wing. And that's why Marco Silva, for me, knows that the front three are as they are. Carry on playing them. Carry on in exactly the same fashion against Fulham. And let's hope that we can do the same. Hopefully, we won't need to do as much defending against Fulham. Hopefully, they won't need to attack back as much against Fulham because, you know, they're not as good as Arsenal. Exactly the same way as they didn't need to against West Ham. And that's why Bernard got on the score sheet. And Richarlison very nearly did as well. So hopefully, we'll see performances from Bernard and Richarlison next week where they are more going forward. They are creating more opportunities. And we're seeing that little bit of class that both of those players have. Well, I say little bit of class. That absolute fucking bucket full. You know, never mind bucket full, absolute truck full of class that both of those players come with. We'll see that a little bit more next week because they don't have to necessarily come back and defend a lot more because we're not playing a team that will pressure us as much as Arsenal, you know, would have yesterday. Even a really, really poor Arsenal that the pundits will tell you can, you know, score a goal at any time, and that's why their defensive work was so important. So on to the last member of the starting 11, and personally for me, a player that yesterday, listen, I'm just going to say my man of the match. I could have picked Gomez, I could have picked Coleman, I could have picked Gay, I could have picked Richarlison, I could have picked Bernard, I could have picked Jagielka, I could have picked anybody in that squad, but I think anybody could have, I think you could have had your fair share for anyone. I'm going to give it to this guy, I'm going to give it to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And like we said at the start of the team, I put a tweet out yesterday and I said, if you generally think Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a championship striker, you do not know much about football. And I generally believe that because for me yesterday, he was absolutely unbelievable. Again, another performance where you're looking at it and you're thinking none of the front three got on the score sheet, yet they all had unbelievable games. Dominic Calvert-Lewin wasn't directly involved in a goal and didn't get on the score sheet, but was absolutely unbelievable. I think he might have got an assist. Actually, he might have been directly involved in the goal, but you know what I mean. He didn't get on the score sheet. He didn't create an awful lot of opportunities for himself, but he was absolutely unbelievable. He was unbelievable because he caused a nuisance of a day. He made the lives of Socrates and Mustafi absolute hell from minute 1 to minute 90. He was winning everything in the air. He was putting himself about. He was using his weight. He was using his pace. Mustafi should have been sent off for an absolutely fucking disgusting challenge on him. He was using what he has to his advantage, and for me, that's exactly what we need to see out of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Another strong, dominant performance from him, and a performance that really does it is, you know, significant as to the rest of the team as well. And yes, okay, in front of goal, he could be a little bit better. Is he going to lead the line on his own next season? No. Should he lead the line on his own next season? No, because he's not good enough in front of goal. He's not the 20 to 30 goal a season striker that we ideally need. Should he be in the squad, you know, next season? Should he be in the starting 11 for a lot of the campaign? Of course he should, because he's only going to learn with age, you know, how to use the ball and when to use it in the final third. He's only going to learn when to shoot and when not to shoot, when there's a better option, and he's only going to get more clinical in front of goal. For me, Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the air is the best player, hands down, in our squad. He wins pretty much every single ball that he gets plonked towards him, and he gets a lot of balls plonked towards him during a game of football. And not only that, is when there's nobody around him, he doesn't just aimlessly jump up and head it to anyone or anywhere. He looks around and he takes it on his chest and he uses his feet, and he's got a fantastic touch on him. And for me yesterday, he was absolutely fantastic once again. And like I said, okay, he probably does need to improve on his shooting a little bit, and maybe we will bring another striker in, and maybe we'll, you know, look for a player that generally just is there to score goals. Maybe we will, and at the end of the day, we haven't really replaced the goals that Lukaku brought in. However, at the end of the day, if we do bring a 20 to 30 goal a season striker, I've said it once and I'll say it again, I want them to know that they are there to score 20 to 30 goals and be their own player in their own right, but they're also there to, you know, half act like a mentor for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, so we can look up and go, okay, that's what I need to do, that's what I need to be like, that's what I need to improve on my game. I don't want us to go and sign a 20 to 30 goal a season striker in the summer and go to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, right, that's it, cheers for your hard work, cheers for your effort, you're going to sit on the bench and you might play twice in a season if we need you. I want Dominic Calvert-Lewin to be told, listen, we've brought this lad in because ideally we need more goals, ideally we need to be scoring more, because we do. Yesterday we had 23 shots and scored 1 goal, and for me, it isn't good enough at the end of the day. We were fantastic during the game, but ideally we should be scoring more goals, because who knows, bloody, at the end of the day, Kevin Friend was liable, could have given a penalty to Arsenal at any point for nothing. Arsenal could have got a scrappy goal off somebody's arse for nothing, and we wouldn't have took the 3 points. We need to be more clinical in front of goal, but when that striker comes in, I want Dominic Calvert-Lewin to be told he's been brought in to do a job that we need. You're going to learn off that. You're going to look at him and you're going to go, okay, what does he do that I don't do? What can I implement into my game that he does that will make me the next level? And that's what we need to do. And I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin has massively benefited off Duncan Ferguson's work, off Duncan Ferguson saying, you can see yesterday was sort of a prime Duncan Ferguson-esque performance from Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He was putting himself about and he was being a nuisance, and he was saying, you know what, if I don't get on the score sheet, if I don't, if I'm not directly involved in a goal, I'm not just going to waltz around, walking around feeling sorry for myself. I'm going to get myself involved in the game. And I'm going to make sure that I give those two, boys absolute hell. And I'm going to make sure that I occupy them so that Bernard, Sigurdsson, Richarlison can go that way and they can get the opportunities. And for me, that's exactly what Dominic Calvert-Lewin done yesterday. And I think he's a wonderful footballer. I think he's been our best player in the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks. And I think going forward, yes, okay, he mightn't lead the line on his own next season, but definitely for me, in future years, I think he's more than good enough. And if he will learn, he will get more clinical in front of goal, and his decision making will become better. And then we've got a hell of a player on our hands, that's for sure. David says Bernard, Richarlison, Digne, Gomez are starting to fire. Coleman has helped Richie's game massively, but we do need a replacement for Seamus. We need depth. We need to bring in another right back at the end of the day, because it's not guaranteed that Seamus Coleman will go through a season without an injury, and I don't personally think that John Joe Kenny is good enough to step in and do the job that Seamus does. So I do think that we should be looking at a right back in the summer. If you are enjoying this team so far, by the way, please do leave a like and smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. David also says it was obvious when Emery isn't a fan of Ozil, but why give a hologram the armband and leave Ramsey on the bench? Exactly. And listen, Arsenal fans have said it themselves, and I thought it myself, that Ozil, mate, he's shite. He's shite, and it might get a few comments from Arsenal fans, and it might, this video might get a few dislikes, but he's shite. He really is one of the most overrated footballers I think I've ever seen live in the flesh. He just waltzes around the football pitch thinking he owns the place, and when realistically he's not that great whatsoever. He really isn't. And Ramsey, for me, offered Arsenal a lot more when he come on than Ozil did in the entire game. But I don't know. David says no chance. 20 to 30 a season. Aguero, Kane, Suarez, Salah, Rooney, Van Persie. Who's at that level? Well, maybe a 15 to 20. At the end of the day, we need a striker that's scoring, at least 15 to 20 goals a season, because Dominic Calvert-Lewin isn't that at the minute, but there's nothing to say he won't be that in the near future. But anyway, that is going to do it for today's stream. Obviously, quite a long one today, talking about another fantastic win for the Blues. Just to wrap it up, again, like I said, I can't express how happy I am, how happy I was yesterday, how happy I am now, how dominant we were. We were absolutely fantastic once again. We absolutely obliterated Arsenal from minute, like I said, 2 to minute 90. They had absolutely, very few opportunities to get back into the game, and we created an awful lot. 23 shots we had, and okay, ideally you could look at it saying we should score more goals, we should do this, we should do that, but you get 1 point if you win 9-0, you get 1 point if you win 1-0. Yes, it might have been a little bit riskier on another day, it might have gone the other way, but it didn't yesterday. We absolutely obliterated Arsenal. We deserved the win, massively deserved the win, and you've got to give credit to Marco Silva. You really have to give credit to Marco Silva, because he's turned this shit round faster than anything I've seen before. And okay, I'm not getting ahead of myself, I'm not saying we're going to do massive things next season, but from how we were playing against Southampton away, from how we were playing against Brighton, from how we were playing against Huddersfield, to how we're playing now against Chelsea, Liverpool, West Ham United, Arsenal, it's a complete contrast. We've been absolutely fantastic over the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, and we need to carry on this run of form now until the end of the season. We've got Fulham next, of course. We'll do the live game preview for that on Friday at 6:15, so don't forget to join me for that one. But we need to carry on this run of form now. Whether we're playing for something or not, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Let's carry on this run of form, and let's see where we are at the end of the season, and let's see where we are going into next season as well. That's going to do it for today's team anyway. Please do leave a like if you have enjoyed. If you're watching it live, thank you all very much for taking time out of your day to come and watch me ramble about the Blues. If you're watching it as a YouTube video afterwards, again, a massive thank you to you all for sticking around and watching this long. Leave all your thoughts in the YouTube comments down below about what you thought about yesterday's game. What do you make of Dominic Calvert-Lewin? Do you agree with me? Do you think that he's got absolutely bags of potential and could be fantastic going forward? And what do you think about the performance of Phil Jagielka? Were you a little bit scared when it was a announced that he was in the starting 11 2 minutes before the game, or were you quietly confident that he was going to do exactly the same job as he did against Cardiff and like he did yesterday against Arsenal? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Just dive into the live comments for one last look before we end the team. Jared says, is Onyekuru the answer up front with DCL, another right back, central mid, because Gay will go, and another centre half? We must sign Gomez and Zuma. I agree, it would be massive if we could sign Gomez and Zuma. In terms of Onyekuru, we'd have to see what he brings when he comes in. We really would. At the end of the day, the lad's got experience, he's played in the Champions League, and he's got bags of talent, but we'd need to see how he settles into the Premier League and how good he is, and hopefully we get to see that next season. David says Richarlison, and David also says Onyekuru was lightning and knows where the goal is. Even if we magically get Zuma, we need another. Yeah, fair enough, we probably do, because there's still that massive question about whether Phil Jagielka will have his contract renewed, although that's a massive question. Should he get his contract renewed now, based off the performances that he's had all season? But anyway, that's going to do it for today's team. Massive thank you to everybody for watching. Don't forget to join me again on Wednesday at 6:15. We're going to be talking about Umbro. We're going to be talking about the kit deals. We're going to be talking about kit designs and why I think it would be a really good idea. And somebody in the comments of my instant match reaction, or of the game preview, to the Arsenal game, said it'd be a good idea if maybe the fans get the choice of what kit designs they like, a little bit like we got the choice of which badge we wanted a few years back. We'll be talking about all of that on Wednesday's team, so don't forget to join us at 6:15. If you have enjoyed today's team, please do leave a like. It really does mean a massive amount to me, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. So close to 500 subscribers, so a massive thank you for all of your support as per usual. I'll be back on Wednesday, of course, at 6:15. David says, another soul cleanser, Cam. Love it, mate. Thank you very much, David, and thank you to everybody for joining in the live comments and for getting involved in the conversation today. That's going to do it for me. A massive thank you to everybody for watching. Leave a like if you have enjoyed. Don't forget to join me again at 6:15 on Wednesday night to talk a little bit about Umbro and kit deals and all things like that. Really positive win for Everton, a massive win. Let's hope we can carry on this run of form. We've got Fulham next, again a team that have been relegated, so aren't really playing for anything other than pride and the fact that it's one of their last games in the Premier League. So let's go and play exactly like we did yesterday and hope we can get another 3 points. But anyway, that's it from me today. A massive thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.